Hello, everyone. Max Stratton here again. Today we're going to be talking about Chapter 5 in our Leadership and Communication Perspective textbook. Title of the chapter is Leadership and Power. First starts off with a quote by Abraham Zeliznik. Leadership begins and ends with the problem of power. A little overview of the chapter before we begin. First part, power with mixed emotions, power and leadership, a couple of subtopics of interdependent but not interchangeable, sources of power. I'll go through the source of power section and list off all different types of power there are. Next is deciding which types of power to use, engaging in constructive organizational politics, powerful and powerless talk. We'll talk more about that throughout the talk. And then lastly, empowerment, components of the empowerment process and empowerment models. So with that last topic, the subtopics are components of the empowerment process, and then I'll go through and give all different types of empowerment and what it really means. So, start off sources of power. There are 6 types of power. So first is coercive power, is based on the ability to administer punishment or to give negative reinforcement. So administering punishment or to give negative reinforcement, in order to be a leader, sometimes you have to give negative feedback in order to make people better. Next is reward power, rests on the ability to deliver something of value to others. Reward power is pretty basic. Someone does something good, they would get a reward in return. They, receive applause, and next is legitimate power, resides in position rather than in the person. What you do specifically on your team or in your place of work, or group projects even. Expert power is based on the person, not the position, in contrast to legitimate power. So it's really based on who you are and if you're good at what you do in your role. Next is referent power, is role model power, setting by example, leading by example, and basically showing others the right path to go down and the way things should be done. And then lastly is ecological power, arises out of control over the physical environment, technology, and how work is organized. Organization is a huge part of being a leader and having power. You need to be organized in order to stay on task, in order for everyone to work together. So next, we go to the components of empowerment process. So there are 3 components. First, component number 1 of the empowerment process is modifying the environment. So what that means is the environment that you work in, you need to modify it in order to get the best out of everything, to get the best out of yourself, the best out of your team, the best out of your class. Modify the environment and make sure you work well together in that environment. Several different organizational factors, your different supervisory style, reward systems, and your job design are part of that. Component number 2 is building intrinsic motivation. As I said before, motivation is huge. The meaning is the value placed on a task, goal, or purpose based on a personal ideals or standards. You need to have your own, your own values. You need to have a task and a goal and a purpose at hand when starting, the empowerment process. Lastly is supplying resources. Big thing. You always need you always need sources. When the teacher says use your resources wisely, libraries, internet, everything like that. Anything can help you. You got to use your initiative and get out there. It shows the leaders supply the resource when they publicly endorse the work. And then lastly, our last section in our book is we talk about super leaders, and the super leaders help followers learn to lead themselves, guiding them from dependence to independence. Become a self-leader by acting on your own through self-behavior modification, finding enjoyment in the task, and building self-confidence through positive thinking. So there's super leaders who help others, and there's self-leader by acting on your own. So, a super leader will lead the others and help the others first, while a self-leader will put himself first, but also, finding enjoyment in the task and building self-confidence through positive thinking. So always keep a positive mindset. Don't ever, look at it, through a small lens. Keep your lens wide and stay positive.